What's up, everyone? It is another Friday and another very boring week here in the Tesla world. This is the 110th episode. Our friend Hans might be joining us in a little bit, but Brian, give us a quick breakdown of how your trip to Nepal was and how your time there was.
It was fantastic. The people of Nepal are very gracious and very kind and very welcoming to people who come there for the right reasons, which is tourism, or in my case to show that Nepal is already at 76% of new cars sold are electric. I got to meet with the CEO of BYD's distribution company in Nepal. I got to interview the lead engineer at a hydro dam. So I got to talk to some really great people, get some really great insights. And while the car market there is small, there are rumors that that Tesla will be in it sooner than later, and at prices that are not as outrageous as they've been for the early adopters who had to import them through parallel channels, gray market cars, pay a series of middlemen. They could be releasing Model Y in Nepal with prices under 50 grand US, which is still an outrageous amount of money in Nepal, but about a third of what it costs today. So this is an exciting time there. It's a beautiful country, very affordable, but there's no sidewalks. So be careful if you do decide to visit.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for being boots on the ground there. I think, like I said, a lot of this for me is just education. I had no idea that, you hear about Norway, you hear it's like, what, 90% something insane like that. And then to hear Nepal, like, just was not on my EV roadmap. And so great to see. And so, like I said, go to FutureAza, check out his videos. He's been the boots on the ground. And like I said, it'll just give you a different perspective. But
Yeah.
with that said, let's get into it. Shout out to Joe for always making the coolest decks with Grok Imagine. All right, so stock is actually up 2 or 3% today, up to 348. And it's down only like 8% year to date, and I believe it's pumping just because there's a lot of news happening. A lot of big ones happening. XAI potentially investing. Tesla shareholders are going to potentially invest in XAI, and Elon's got a new $1 trillion pay package, which we will get into. But yeah, so lots of news happening. We'll get into each thing and make sure you guys are covered if you did not keep track of the news like we did. All right, Joe, I'll pass this one to you.
Oh, something, something. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, this is freaking amazing, man. It's okay. So we were talking earlier about the Tesla board and how this new pay package comes off. I know Brian has some really cool things to say about it, so I'm gonna let him speak. But this doesn't seem as out of reach in the ether as the original pay package did to me. You know what I mean? Like this seems like there's a pathway to this. It doesn't seem as unprecedented as the last package was. But Brian, go ahead.
Well, that was my first thought too. I thought, well, 20 million cumulative cars, of course, they're going to hit that. That's the free space on the bingo card. Except that alone isn't enough to get the first pay. They also have to double the stock from where it is today, roughly, a little bit under double. If your money's going to double, is that going to hurt you? I think that's going to help you. And then it's like, well, yes, and 10 million cars running FSD. 10 million. If you've only sold 20, you're not going to hit 10 million. You're going to have to blow way past 20 million. So that 20 is very easy. But when you say it doesn't look like it's that far out of reach, how many bots have been sold worldwide to date? It's not a million for all companies combined. It's probably 10,000 worldwide from all companies. So it is new ground. A million robotaxis. Well, it should be more than a million robotaxis. It will. If you can do a million, you can do 10 million. A million is definitely proof of concept. It definitely shows that it can scale. And the real banger is the EBITDA numbers. It's going to have to go up to hundreds of billions of dollars in earnings before interest, taxes, deductions, and amortization, which means this will have to be a money printing machine in order to make any of it work. So if they're going to be bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars in earnings per year, $1 billion a day plus, I think that should be rewarded. And if he gets the trillion, it's only because your stock that you have today roughly 10x'd. So I think while some of it looks easy to us, I would argue that some of it looked easy in the previous comp plan to us. We looked at it and said, boy, some of these are really out there, but I think we can hit at least a few of them. So what I don't know is if institutional investors are going to say, yeah, but 80 billion per tranche, that's a fat paycheck. And it is. So I don't know what the institutional investors are going to vote, but I'm confident the retail investors are overwhelmingly going to vote in favor. And the people who definitely won't vote are already not shareholders, so they don't get a say.
Well, one of the things you have to think about is it's the carrot, right? Like okay, so you shoot for the stars, you hit the moon, you know what I mean, type of scenario. And I think if you even land anywhere near half of this stuff, I mean, it's gonna be great. And I think like John was saying this earlier, you know what I mean, keep homeboy excited, you know what I'm saying? keep him in it. And I think that's like a good way to look at it. Like you're sparking his flame to stick with the company, like what they say, 7.5 to 10 years. Like you're giving him the carrot that makes him want to do these things. And I just think it's good either way.
There was a time when he was looking at the exits. If you look back in the early days, he wanted to sell Tesla to Google, basically, back when it was just an electric car company. If they had bought it, that would have been the end of it. Maybe they'd have kept making cars. Probably they would have failed. And Elon would have headed for the exits. But now this would ensure that he finishes his career at Tesla. Because 10 years from now, I mean, he can work until he dies if he chooses to, but I don't think that's something we should expect. I don't think that's fair or reasonable. But to carry a job into your 60s, I think, is pretty commendable. And how do you do that? Well, you make it exciting. You make every opportunity available. And between the AI, the robotics, the autonomy, I don't know, it hits all the pieces. And it's nice that we can see that just selling cars isn't the sole objective, because if this is a car company, it's already overvalued. It's not. It's something more than that. And the only bit of caution I would have is if the target is sell 1 million robots, that's not the same as saying sell 1 million good robots that remain in service. So I don't think Elon would push them to just move units just because, so he can hit his milestones.
Right.
But I can see that criticism being leveled.
Well, Hans, welcome to the jungle, man.
Glad I could make it. Had a little construction in the neighborhood.
Exactly. Brian was just hitting us, and so is Joe, and I'll give my thoughts maybe after you. But have you heard about the new pay package that Elon's got? If not, we can catch you up to speed. But otherwise, I would love to get your thoughts on it.
I did look at it, and it's very interesting. Obviously, not knowing what Brian said about it, the parallels to the 2018 package are obvious. They're there. It's nice to see him being incentivized by the company. We've already kind of been around this merry-go-round with the courts on, is it okay to incentivize Elon in this way? I would really like to see that appeal get sorted out before we get too far down this road. I do think that being in Texas will allow us to, proceed differently than what happened in Delaware. But yeah, the milestones are good. They're, not necessarily as aggressive, I don't think, as 2018, just from, looking at them briefly, but they do take the company to a very important place. And, I think they really set up the future of Optimus robot very well. And so that's, I think aligned. If he can deliver those types of results to the company, it is definitely, it feels like a higher percentage of, compensation that he receives back than he got for the 2018 package. In terms of, the amount of upside for the shareholders versus the amount of upside for him. I think it was like 10% for 10% roughly, if I remember correctly, in 2018. And now it's like 12% for so yeah, it's like 10% for a 10x, and now I think it's like 12% for a 7.5 or 8x, something like that. So a little bit different overall return profile, but still, that's like, we want Elon to get us to that point. Having a giant market share of humanoid robotics is honestly far more important than having a sizable market share of vehicles. So, maybe there's some justification in that rationale. But just getting all of this behind us, I think even just that will be a huge win for kind of everyone involved. And I think the market will love this package.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't say that the market popped today. It popped about 3%. If they're adjusting for that specifically, obviously Tesla has a lot going on right now. But my thought was, I agree with pretty much everything that's been shared. I mean, some of these like 400 billion in adjusted EBITDA. I mean, Brian, you broke that down really well. I actually did not kind of click on like how like the road to even get to that. But what I was telling Joe this before, and I was like, if you look at the aim to market cap this at 8.5 trillion, that's almost an 8x growth from where it is today. So that literally means that it's like, again, this is just rough math. That's taking a $300 stock today, 350, whatever it is, and multiplying it by 8. So you're getting to well over $2,400. And again, that's the value that you got to see that he's created for shareholders, the impact that it's going to have on really the world. I mean, again, he has said very often that it's possible for them to accomplish and get to growing, the Optimus robots, but it's going to be incredibly hard. And the good thing is, what better way to incentivize someone to help solve one of the world's hardest problems to solve, whether it's autonomy. And in this case, we all know 80% of the value of Tesla, based on his comments, is going to be Optimus. So I think back in 2018, you were dealing with a different beast. I mean, this company was weeks from bankruptcy. And so throwing, some of those things, throwing some of those targets on the wall was like literally just, it was literally throwing darts. Like, let's just throw a bunch of this stuff and see what happens. This, like, in my opinion, it's going to be incredibly hard, but there is actually like a path to get there. And I think that's probably one of the differences. It's still incredibly hard. It's going to take his full attention and the best and brightest engineers and the hardest working people. But this is going to keep him very engaged over the next 7 to 10 years. So I personally was really excited, and I'm happy that they're getting this done. And I can tell you, they've probably been brewing on this for a minute. They waited till everything's done in Texas, and they definitely probably crossed their T's and dotted their I's just before they even broke this, because they do not want a Delaware situation again if this does happen.
So I did want to point something out real quick. There was when I've mentioned that Tesla was days from bankruptcy, which Elon had said in an interview, it was pointed out that, well, if you look at the financials, which came out a month later, we could see that, no, they still had money in the bank, like a lot of money in the bank. But what happens is when you get too low, your creditors treat you differently. So you can have hundreds of millions left in the bank and still face operational challenges that become a death spiral. And yet to the people who are saying, look, no one deserves this much money. Oh, okay, fine. If that's how you feel, but I'm going to guarantee you, if you have that mindset, you do not hold a substantial amount of shares in any company. That's just not consistent. So we can complain about things that don't make sense, like saying no one should get paid a bunch of money. But the reality is, it's not the company that's paying him. It's us, it's the shareholders. And if we have a problem with it, we can vote against it. And if you want to look at, well, every time we give him another tranche, another $83 billion, it waters down, it dilutes the amount of shares outstanding. Yeah. And you know what happens then? It makes the next tranche harder to hit. And each time we give him more, there's more shares. And now it's harder to hit again. So it's, if I'm the one paying him to 10x my money, and he only gets paid every time he increases it substantially, I'm trying to find the downside. Maybe someone can help me, but I can't find it yet.
And why should the Chancellor McCormick be allowed to get in the way of me as Elon's boss being able to pay Elon what I see fit? And, using I in the representative form here, that 70+% of shares voted are in favor of paying Elon in this form and fashion. And so, I don't care what other people say we can and cannot compensate Elon for. Like, we have made the decision that this is what we want to do. And none of those people who are not shareholders get a say. And I mean, 70% is like, for the people who are shareholders that oppose it, well, I'm sorry, 30% doesn't get to rule the day.
And by the way, she has a nice robe. So that's why she do you have a robe, Hans? I mean, think about it.
I can make a robe.
You need a robe, Hans. You need a robe.
And the mainstream media, all they're gonna post about this $1 trillion package. No one's gonna know what these insane targets. That's all they're gonna see is just a $1 trillion package, and that's going to be everyone's response, which is going to be, no one deserves that money. And it's like, but again, that's what mainstream media is gonna say. And I agree with Hans. We are the shareholders. Let's say if you actually cared and you're like, don't want this to happen, go buy shares and vote against it. You have that privilege. But like I said, there's certain rights that you get when you buy a stock of a company, and voting is one of them. And so Tesla has always been known for an insane amount and percentage wise of retail investors, people that they don't want a financial institution to tell them what to go do and where to put their money. They know what they want, and that's this generation of the Robin Hood generation. It's just we do the research. Now we even have like Grok and some of these other tools that can help us even research even further, but we're going to go make our own investments. Sometimes we get some financial advice, but in this situation, we want to make call the shots on this, and not some random judge. So like I said, I'm going to go back to some of the things. I can't spout out everything that Brian and Hans and Joe said, but it's like, I'm going to go back to the value. We're at $1.5 trillion right now. If he can take it to 8 to 9 trillion, I mean, you're talking an 8x value. Like, so again, I'm not saying go invest your money and throw it all into Tesla, but again, for people that are putting $100 in today, you're talking it could go to $800, $900, which is just an insane value in the next 10 years, which, again, this is already $1 trillion company. So they've already had an insane run up in like 2021. And to be able to do that again is going to be crazy. But again, a lot of work, a lot of man hours, a lot of people need to be bought into this mission. And it's possible. It's going to be incredibly hard, but there's a path.
And he could get paid zero.
He could get paid zero. Yeah. Can I just make 2 quick points on this before we move on? One of them as a shareholder. So I know that this headline number is a big number, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that's so much. But really what this number boils down to is, having influence and control over the future of Tesla. And the way that Elon has proposed to do this is unique in Silicon Valley right now, that he does want to have that 25% ownership stake so that he has a big vote. But he is not proposing a structure like Meta has or like Google has, where they have these class of super voting shares. And that's one of the things that has been discussed a lot is, are we going to be able to create these super voting majority shares where Elon can have the control without necessarily having that number of shares of the common stock to be able to vote. And the thing is that if you do that, like, eventually you just give Elon a license to have 100% control of the decisions that are made at Tesla. And as a shareholder, actually prefer the structure that he is actually setting out, where he wants to have 25% share. He has say, but he doesn't have like these big veto rights and supermajority control over the company. That there is an ability for shareholders to oppose Elon and to win in that future. And yeah, like as a structure to not only hold, the future hopes and ambitions of what this company can become, but the technology of humanoid robotics, I'm 100% aligned with him that this is a much better structure than a lot of the alternatives that are out there. So yeah, that's, I think, just something that people need to keep in their mind as they evaluate whether or not this is a good idea or not.
I made the mistake of going to Reddit this morning to see the reactions there. And
Oh
of
my
course,
gosh.
the people are furious because you're giving them $1 trillion for nothing. And people are getting huge upvotes for saying they should at least attach it to operational milestones. And then people are getting downvoted for saying they did. Did you not even, you're just angry and you don't know why. And of course, why should Elon get $1 trillion when people can't afford groceries? Because those are somehow connected. Look, if we get Optimus at scale all over the world, grocery prices can come down, labor costs can come down, shipping, transportation can come down. So let's, keep it real, but it's Reddit. They don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what are people going to see over the next 7 days on this headline? They're going to see $1 trillion package. They're not going to see operational insane wealth created for a bunch of people. They're not going to know that for every one job that Tesla creates, it creates an additional 10 for, people in supply chain and operations. They're also not going to know that this money, this wealth that Elon is creating, it's ultimately to, get us to Mars. It's to all that money is going to go back into that mission. Free speech is one of the things of why he bought X. But again, that was like the only thing he's ever really bought that's been like obviously $44 billion, but he also did that with a lot of other investors' money and stuff. But it's one of those things where outside of that, he creates all of this his own value by working insanely hard, by working, 120 hours a week. And he's done so many of those things where it's like, oh, well, if you work 120 hours in 1 week or whatever it is, that's 3x 3 other people. And he's like, or that's, whatever the number is, harder than other people. And so that's what he's doing. I mean, he's just, the other day, again, we'll get into this. He was with Mark Benioff at the office, and they did he was touring about the whole, what's going on with the robot. But again, this guy works insanely hard. He's able to multitask, hone in on the difficult problems, and do his best to solve them, or churn on it, gnaw on it a little bit, but ultimately they push through. And sometimes he gives insanely optimistic idea like deadlines, but for the most part he always delivers. Like it's just like, some of the stuff we're still TBD, right? But it's like they're marching to it and he always delivers. It's just late. Very late sometimes, but they're marching towards it. Hans, you're on mute. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying something. Okay, cool. All right. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. This is something that's been mentioned, something we've talked about. I think it was actually submitted on Twitter. People were asking him, I don't know, or not Twitter, X. People were like, hey, let's vote on X, Tesla investing in XAI. And so it looks like this will be on the ballot for November. But what were your guys' thoughts on this? Are you a fan of this? Do you think this should happen? What's on your mind?
Does Optimus need a brain? Then yes, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, you end up with these insane ideals from people like Brian was saying earlier. These people aren't even investors. They're just people who like to throw out opinions and hate. And the fact of the matter is, if you are like Brian or like myself, and you realize the potential of what Grok can do for Optimus and for the company, like realistically, when Elon started first XAI and started moving in that direction, the company should have been on the ballot like then, you know what I mean? Like everybody's aware of what XAI can do. You might not have realized it at the time, but you know, anything Elon is investing in or putting his time like he was into XAI, you realize that there's something there. And I mean, yeah, we should have been in on this early. And I think if you're choosing not to give a brain to Optimus, that's just weird thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like how could you vote against this? It just seems like duh.
And yeah, Tesla has fantastic compute. They have fantastic AI and training models and all that. But what they do is different than what XAI does. XAI is more about language and interpretation, and the less of the physical side, more of the brain side. I have no doubt that Tesla could, with their own AI expertise, give Optimus the ability to navigate the world flawlessly. What I don't have as much confidence is that you could give Optimus plain English spoken instructions and get the correct series of events to take place. I don't know. Feels important to me to have a robot that can actually function the way we used to only see in science fiction movies.
We
And
have
not
a
just
specialist. We have a specialist in this arena. Hans, could you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's not just Optimus that we need to be able to have those types of conversations with and have, a good understanding of the world around it. Not just from like, how do I not crash into things, but what do I do? Like, where do I park? Where do I drop you off? Like, a lot of the way that you would interact with the cab driver or an Uber driver is something that's really still kind of beyond what FSD is capable of and is currently in the works. And so you need that for the robotaxi as well. So that's a big thing. And obviously, the core mission right now for XAI is to develop artificial, the first milestone is artificial general intelligence, but they're really aimed specifically at artificial super intelligence. And man, I sure would like some super intelligence in my Tesla stock. So obviously, I'm in favor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? It's I think that's why, what makes this story like all of us have been following Tesla, for a minute. And back in 2018, I never would have dreamed of being where we're headed today. Like it just was not on my product roadmap to think AI, robotics, and so it's just crazy because it's like, here Elon is, he was avoiding this the whole time. He was actually trying to create like AI safety with like open AI and founding that with, I believe it was Karpathy. He was like the other founder and Sam as well. But like, and then he did some work with, I think he was trying to stop like, or was warning DeepSeek. Again, I don't know all the stories, but either way, he was doing his best to be like, I don't want to be involved. I just want to, invest and get people that are just sold out on this, and then we all move on.
Right.
But now
Almost
it's
like
like
he was trying to avoid being involved directly in Tesla at first too, and then
Yep.
finally just got sucked in.
100%, because he told us that when we interviewed him in 2022. He's when he found out that Martin didn't know what the financials on like what it cost to make a roadster, he had to get involved. And based on what Elon said, Martin never put in his own money. So it's just like, long story short, all that to say is that like what we have in Tesla before Grok came to it was just kind of like a mini Siri or whatever you want to call it. And they could have invested, tons of engineering efforts to essentially make another Grok. But the thing is, like, I've seen Grok integrate with Neuralink and, Brad Smith. I'm talking to him and I can see Grok, taking in all that information. And what is Neuralink going to enable you to do? So it's already like you already have like test cases of Grok working with the most advanced technology. And so it makes sense. Like, I know there's a lot of overlap right now with the rocket engineers and the vehicle engineers at Tesla and SpaceX. And so we should benefit. And so in a lot of ways, as Brian perfectly said, it's like, if you're against putting a brain into into the robot, then you got to be out of your mind. He didn't say that latter piece, but all that to say, it's like, this is in my opinion a layup. You got to take all of the the big bets that you can get with Elon, even if it benefits other companies as well. But this will massively benefit Tesla to get to this 8.5 trillion market cap. You need it, and they're saving a lot of engineering power and time by doing this as well.
There's a different way to look at this too, that, you know, as a Tesla investor, obviously I would love to be able to participate in the upside that XAI is going to create based on their work. But on the flip side, I think that AGI is incredibly important. Artificial super intelligence is incredibly important. And right now, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google are all, you know, really just pushing hard on trying to accomplish this. And Elon has caught up fast. He's right now, you know, neck and neck. Arguably, Google DeepMind is still ahead. And so if you want Elon to really have the best shot at being the one who actually takes the crown on this race and gets there first, then it's really actually very important that XAI has full access to the data that Tesla generates and then the platform of the Cybercab and humanoid robotics in order to give them a differentiated path to developing this technology. And I think that's as important, if not more important, than, you know, what can Tesla get out of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with like you know, people forget too that Elon, I think when people were mad about Elon being in the government, they're like, oh, he's getting access to, you know, people's information. It's like he already had it at PayPal with 100 million users. So this is going to be like, I think again, I think it's match made in heaven. I'm all about this investment. I think it's going to benefit both companies, but again, Grok is just they're playing catch up. They're at some point they're getting access to, again, at some point, SpaceX information, Tesla information as they are now, and then you know, all the stuff that they're built on with X and Neuralink too. All right. Just it keeps going. All right, Joe, this one's to you.
I don't know if anybody's seen this, but there's this robot, and it moves around the offices of Tesla. So this is from Mark Benhoff. If you don't know who he is, you should definitely Google him and why this is a really good match here for Salesforce to be involved. Everything Mark touches is kind of like he's like a gold standard. So that's pretty awesome that he's there. Okay, so Elon's Tesla Optimus is here. The dawn of a physical agent force. Of course, he mentions force in that, but I don't. His prices are crazy, but this is a really cool video. You got to see him talk to Optimus. I like this actually sleeker design that they are trying to incorporate into Optimus. It looks more like what they were initially planning on, and the path to that you can kind of see it in the upper arms. I think the lower arms are just placeholders for what they're going for right now. I don't think when you see him walk, it wasn't like the wrists weren't moving or anything like that. So. But this was like a really cool video. You're talking to Optimus. Optimus is actually talking back. You're not just giving him instructions. Like it's a complete conversation. And then Optimus is just leading you on to the kitchen to get a soda pop. So it was pretty awesome.
What's hilarious is I never watched the video with sound on, and I thought it was very disappointing. So I will have to go back and watch it.
Definitely put the sound on. But either way, like you know, it's great to see, because again, this was who knows if this trip was even planned or if it was just ad hoc. I mean, you obviously don't see it's late at night. There's like one employee around.
But the employee is Elon though.
Oh no, but the guy on the right page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That
The other notable thing about that is just, you know, it's the best look that we've gotten so far at whatever the next generation of Optimus is.
Yeah.
And yeah, they specifically, it seems like, are not giving us any sort of hints about what the forearms and hands are going to look like on this new version 3. You know, those seemed like dummy mannequin hands. But the overall design is obviously, you know, still close to but significantly updated from the version 2s that we've seen. And obviously the color being the Cybercab gold, also interesting. It looks like gold is going to be the new theme for all of the AI powered Tesla agentic robots that live out in the world.
You know what though, real quick, is what I've noticed also is that Tesla is aware, very aware now, whereas they weren't before, of the fact that people pull apart their videos and things like that. And Elon's even mentioned this. So they're definitely not giving you everything. Like what you're seeing is not where they're at, and it's not the current place. So it's very interesting because you saw people zoom in on the footage, people pick apart this and pick apart that, and then you realize like, okay, well, yeah, they're definitely not going to give us everything right now. But the thing that you are not seeing from a lot of other robots, I think, besides the future robot, is the voice. You know what I mean? Like tell it to do something and it's doing it. And I love the lights, how it responds and stuff like that. You get to see how it's thinking, and everything is like right there. It's really cool the way they did it.
I would just caution, if those aren't the real hands, let's be careful using the mannequin word, because if we say it too many times, Dan will come crashing through the wall like a Kool-Aid man trying to run it down. It's a real hazard.
Exactly. Okay, so
True story.
I think people there was a couple of things that happened this week that like specifically on this, like I don't think people realize the significance of this. This is like a brand new Uber company launching a ride sharing business. And the difference here is that, you know, it's with the Robo taxi, and these cars are not driving. Obviously, they have some of the safety monitors depending on where you are and if you're going on the highway. But Tesla just like quietly launched their Robo taxi app again. So now if you're in the Bay Area, if you're in Austin, and obviously we know this will expand, you can hail a Robo taxi, and anyone can download the app, and then obviously they're expanding it, and you know, you join a wait list, but again, get in line. This is already the #1 app in the travel section for free apps. And Elon did also come out and say that safety monitors will be removed by the end of the year. Obviously, this is going to be pending regulation. But you know, like I said, it's just like, you know, Tesla is just dropping. I mean, they released the Model Y performance as well, along with, you know, FSD releasing in Australia. And so it's just, you know, this is just it's crazy what they're dropping, and people, like I said, they just, without anyone realizing it, they just launched a brand new business. You know what I mean? And a revenue stream. Obviously, they were already doing it with the testing and stuff. But it's absolutely just wild that that they dropped this. It's already the #1 travel free app on the App Store, and you know, just really exciting times. But this is just a huge milestone, I think, for the company.
I wanted to get the feedback from you guys on this. I saw a number of people saying they should just hire an extra 100 people so they can expand the fleet, even though they're going to have to lay off all the safety hitchhikers next month. And I think I'm fine with the pace that it's going at. Do you guys think that they should be ramping up the number of vehicles, even though they would have to immediately reassign or lay off those hitchhikers?
I don't think so. I think they've already doubled the the fleet, you know what I mean, from how it started, and they're adding more all the time. I don't think you need to put a bunch of people in the driver's seat just so you can just potentially lay them off later. I think they're moving at a pretty good pace. I mean, anybody who's used a robotaxi service realizes that when you call it, it gets there pretty quickly. I mean, you got to imagine, like, there's like hundreds, if not thousands of people per city that it's in using this app. And I mean, even me and John, I mean, we never waited more than like 10, 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like realistically, it gets there pretty quickly. So I can't see, and we were even doing it at odd hours, different times, and it would still get there pretty quickly. So yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah. My thought is that safety is everything. So for them, like just throwing a bunch of random people, I mean, you know, hiring a bunch of people that may not have the training experience just to get it ramped. Like I said, I think Joe and I were in the car. We were testing this back in early August, or like mid-August, sorry. And there was about 50 cars on the road, and so I don't know if they're up to 100 now. They might be, obviously, now with it going wait list and wide release for the Bay Area specifically. I'm not talking about Austin. But, I think they need to do the exact opposite. I think, they need to get the testing information, the validation, because any major snafu is going to be worldwide news. You see Waymo hitting random buses and tankers, and no one cares. Like, I mean, Elon even reposted one of the videos from one person who posted the accident. But for them, they have the world. The world's not necessarily looking at them, but when they make a mistake, the world looks, and they over criticize them, and they're just waiting for those headlines, right? So my opinion is that safety is everything, and we'll see how this ramps. But safety, in my opinion, is everything. So even if they don't get them out by the end of the year, I'm fine with that too, because this is not, in my opinion, this is about long term, that these rides need to be safer than having a human in there, and they already are. But there's a certain 8x or 6, 7x, whatever the number is, to get it safer than a human driver, that they need to hit. And this is really about long term things, because one major setback, I mean, we saw it took down a whole company. What was a cruise?
Yeah.
So it's just that's something that we don't want to deal with right now. And having those safety drivers in there while it's still testing, I mean, for me, it's still driving itself without any human input, and they're just monitoring the situation. And sometimes there will be times where the safety driver needs to get involved. Like, I took it down to a dead end, and the driver needed to take over, but that's why it's testing right now. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of echo your sentiment on that, John, that this is obviously going to be a huge business line and have huge profit margins, and hopefully in the very near future. And if hiring a large fleet, or a large workforce of temporary workers for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months even, to accelerate the ramp up of this fleet, it's more than worth it. And I'm much more concerned about the safety implications for the roads than I am about the fact that, these workers are potentially going to be out of a job in not very long, or have to be reassigned, or whatever that looks like. I mean, they'll enter into that contract knowing that that's the deal, and it'll be a shot to, if you're good, maybe you can transfer somewhere else inside the company. If not, like, there's lots of businesses that operate that way. So that's definitely not my primary concern. I think we do, need to seed and prepare a number of markets for the ramp up of cybercab, that, you're going to want to be able to deliver cybercabs basically straight off the end of the line to a market where you want to be, ramping up your fleet very quickly. And so having the ability to do that in a number of cities around the United States is going to be a big deal. And right now, Tesla's been indicating in a lot of different ways that they really are planning to scale this up way faster than people expect. Whether it's the coverage area in Austin that is growing exponentially. Yes, they haven't necessarily ramped up the fleet size in Austin nearly as fast as they've ramped up the coverage area, but it is a signal that they're intending to do that. Like, you don't exponentially increase your coverage area because you're planning to never have more than 20 cars or 50 cars or whatever. And so if we continue to see that coverage area expanding rapidly, then we can, I think, make a reasonable assumption that the fleet size is also going to follow a similar pattern. Maybe it'll lag behind a little bit, but will be a similar shape. And all of that points to the fact that we're going to have a lot of these cars on the road by the end of this year. And yeah, I think having safety riders, safety monitors for a good chunk of, collecting all that data and just being like 100% bulletproof sure that these things are not just safer than a human, they're way safer than a human. They save lives. They save lives in a massive way. And when they get sued, because they will get sued, they'll be able to come into that courtroom with a fat stack of documents that says this is absolute horse crap, and there is no way, shape, or form that you can get around this. This is good for humans, and we are going to continue rolling this technology out.
Lawyers using the word horse crap. I can't wait to see this court TV.
Specifically for Richard. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Jay Leno and our friends Lars and Franz meet up with Jay to talk about the new Model S and X. And I think some of the, there was a lot of dimes. Check it out on Jay Leno's Garage. But one of the big things is that
Take rate.
the take rate for the FSD is up to 50 to 60%. So on the S and X specifically. So really exciting. I think again, small volumes, but just indications that more and more people are driving it.
I mean, it's mandatory though now, right? You can't not buy it, can you?
True.
Yeah.
Well, what I will say,
just
just real quick, I will say that if the objective is to have 10 million vehicles running FSD in order for the comp plan to work, that suggests to me we may see transferability more commonly. Because the last thing you want is for somebody to sell the car and FSD to go out of use. Let them transfer it. So maybe that's a thing. Because if they take it back, they frequently will strip it off of there because the next buyer may not want it. So
Big brain energy, Brian. In the building.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say something. All right. So obviously we know people do not like Tesla. So the sales in China are, well, I don't want to steal this. Joe, to you, man.
There's sales in other countries. Impossible. Nobody
No.
likes. Yeah, all the drama. The brand is horrible. So Tesla Model Y sales have been incredible since the launch report. The Model Y is selling very well since its launch. 120,000 orders have been received, with nearly 10,000 new orders placed every day. This is pretty incredible. I think Korea also, it's like gangbusters. And then out of nowhere, the new Model Y Performance is now available to order in Australia and New Zealand. Like, the bombs that have been dropped since they knew the comp plan was coming, like, has been kind of crazy. Like, I think it kind of never gets stated enough how many markets Tesla isn't in that they still have levers to pull to be in. And I think, like, we kind of get lost in the sauce thinking like, oh, they've moved this many units or whatever, and they're not even like covering the globe like in every market like where Ford and Toyota and Honda is. And that's kind of crazy to think about the numbers that they're doing, and they're not even like everywhere.
To tie this back to the comp plan for just a second, they did reiterate that 20 million vehicles per year number in that comp plan, which is supposed to expire in 2035. So maybe we don't reach the original 20 million vehicles by 2030 goalpost, but it's still on Tesla's roadmap to want to deliver that many vehicles soon thereafter. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot that can happen between now and 2031, 2032. So we might be a lot closer to actually hitting that goal than pretty much any investor has expected here in recent years.
Well, it's 20 million cumulative is what's in the comp plan, not 20 million annually. So it's pretty different.
Oh, I missed that. That is unfortunate.
It is a little unfortunate.
That's why we're here together.
Yeah, no, this company's in hot water, man. There's no way they're gonna make it.
Well, I've had it on good authority that no one buys them anymore from protesters who stand out on Saturdays and watch them fly out the door all day. So I don't know. If you can't trust them, who can you trust?
Exactly. So with that said, they continue to enter new markets and continue to deliver vehicles. So with this month, they entered India, or in August timeframe. They have a couple of stores, obviously, and storefronts that they've launched. It says actually here in 4 different cities. I only knew about 2 cities that they had a storefront in, but long story short, Model Y deliveries have started officially in India. So really exciting for them to see that. And then, at some point it's going to be insane if they can get some FSD data out there, right? Just because it's a different beast to be driving around in a place like India, and where they're really the lanes don't really matter. It's just everyone's going one direction, and that's just the direction you're going in. But knowing Tesla's system and how Tesla Vision works, I think it'll be fine, just because of the fact that you just need coordinates and it'll navigate through there. So
Mumbai is a boss battle. If you can beat Mumbai traffic with FSD, there's nowhere you can't use it.
Well, the good news is that Tesla doesn't make any vehicles without the FSD included, whether you're using it or not. So they'll have the data.
Yes, and when it runs in shadow mode, it is always watching your driving, trying to guess how it would drive, and then report back to HQ, so that all the training is, I mean, it's already working, but
Right.
it will be more miles of data, always helpful.
Yeah, it'll be good for FSD to see how those people will drive and have to mimic that, you know what I mean, out there. Whereas out here it's full on stops at stop signs and things like that. That'd be crazy.
Exactly. All right, Joe, this one's to you.
Mega charging has begun. So this is pretty cool. This is an address out in Akron. So they've officially filed pre-permits for the first public semi mega charger station. It's going to be in San Antonio, Texas. Eight stalls are planned, and for the Flying J, which is pretty awesome, because the way it happens here in America is you end up with like a lot of for people who don't know, a lot of Targets have superchargers, but now you're looking at the Flying J, which is basically for semi trucks to come and and gas up. Now they'll be able to use the mega chargers. It's not financial advice. I don't know what's up with Flying J, but that's pretty good big brain energy on Flying J's part. See the writing on the wall,
Buc-ee's will have to follow now.
Buc-ee's
think
Buc-ee's already
Buc-ee's
has superchargers.
Yeah, but they need the truck chargers now.
Oh yeah.
That it'll be a matter of time. All right, so one other, like I said, of course, on Labor Day, when you're supposed to be celebrating not working, Tesla released the Master Plan Part 4, and lots of highlights. So make sure you go and check out Tesla's X handle and look at their post from Monday of this week. But they really just kind of proposed, and it's actually been interesting. I don't remember the exact mission of Tesla at start one, but just seeing it go from, well, I think it was getting the world, or helping the world accelerate to a world of sustainable transportation. Then it moved to sustainable energy, and now it's sustainable abundance. So it's just kind of insane just to see how this is all just like Tesla is just growing from, again, being, a car company to an energy company, and now, AI, robotics, and a bunch of mini startups. So make sure you go check that out. I don't know if there was anything that you all wanted to, that maybe you went through it and that you saw that you want to call out.
Well, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed Vision Board Part 4, and I look forward to the release of the plan, because there are details. We don't know what they are yet, but this didn't have them, because the question, of course, is not what's the vision, but how do you get there? And I'm looking forward to that.
That's hilarious you mentioned that, Brian, because specifically people complained that there was way too much information. And so Elon said very, very well back then that the next plan he's going to put out is going to be with little to minimal information, so that it wasn't overwhelming to people. And here we are, and now people want more information. You can't please everybody.
Well, there's no information. I mean, it's just stuff's going to be good. Stuff's going to be good. Hey, I love that. How? So we'll find out. He's agreed to release that. I'd still have, even after Elon said, okay, I'll release the details, people were still giving me a hard time. He doesn't have to. China will steal it. I'm like, he's already agreed, guys.
All right. So one of my favorite times of the one of my favorite times of the podcast is ending it with the Upbeat, where we just go around to our hosts and put them on the spot about kind of, Tesla EV related or anything within Musk companies, and put them on the spot and get their take on it. All right, so we're going to go to you, Brian, first, since you're at the top. Cybertrucks at the Arctic Ocean, 1-year anniversary. Or
How
sorry,
cool
what am I talking about? I was thinking this was Tesla Tina, but there's been, I think, what is this, the 5th Cybertruck that has now made it to the Arctic Ocean.
It's at least the 4th, but yeah, it's becoming kind of a regular occurrence. There was these gals who did it maybe a month ago, and somewhere along the way, they talked to like a highway ranger who was concerned that they're not going to make it. And so when they got there, there was like people waiting for them. Okay, you did it. And they're like, yeah, it's a Cybertruck. What? It's really not that hard. So it is, I'd just be nice if it was a real truck, but apparently real trucks don't exist because you keep changing what the definition is to make sure that the Cybertruck doesn't qualify. It's a go anywhere truck, and huge shout out to Tesla Tino and Bearded Tesla for installing chargers along the path when they went for the first time with Gary Marks' Blue Sky Kites last year. Good job, everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy. All right, Hans, police EVs, Cybertruck spotted in Hangzhou, China. Probably saying that wrong.
Probably.
Yeah, we've been seeing this more and more. We've seen it here in the United States. I think we've seen it pretty extensively in the Middle East, just because they like to be big and flashy. But pretty cool to see these things outfitted this way. We'll be excited, to see this continuing to grow. It's a great vehicle for that application, and I think that that's going to be something that will become more and more standard here in the near future.
All right, Joe, you're gonna cap us off with Australia gets it. FSD kinda understood.
This video was hilarious because the guy on the right experienced FSD. The two people on the left did not. It's the questions that they were asking, like, is it legal and all this kind of stuff. It's like, it was just hilarious. But no, I think there's really no regulation out there in Australia, so that's pretty awesome that they get to do this, and it's like one of those areas where, it's right-hand drive, right? So you get to experience that as well. So I think there's a lot of testing for the FSD that it gets to do, and I think Australia is just a really good test bed for that without any oversight.
It's the first right-hand drive country. That's got to count for something too. It just goes to show how versatile the network is.
Still wrong hand drive. We're not jousting people. We don't need to be on the left side of the road for any reason.
All right, well, we made it through another week, 110 episode, and it's crazy to hit feels like what is almost 2 years worth of episodes. But all that to say is please patronize our hosts. They give an hour of their week and just spill the beans on and dropping all of their knowledge. So they're tagged both on X and YouTube, so please subscribe to their channels and give them a follow, and utilize the referral codes that are published at least on YouTube. And shout out to Joe for the deck this week. So we appreciate you guys for watching. I appreciate these hosts, and we will catch you guys all next Friday. Have a good week, everyone. Cool.